We're down to the final 4 drivers of our 2023 driver bracket. Now, only one of these drivers is moving on to the finals. Which one do you think that is? What's up guys, it's Brandon from NEWNINE Golf. I can say with confidence that in all the years I've tested brand new drivers, this year is by far the most impressive. So this semifinal head-to-head of the Titleist TSR3 versus the Tour Edge Exotics C723 couldn't be closer in terms of setup. Both of these drivers, I'm using the stock X option, which is a Gen 4 hazardous 6.5 60 gram. They're both 45.5 inches. They're both 9-degree heads, and both of them have a weighting system at the back that I can move it to a draw bias. If you've seen my other head-to-heads, my majority of my misses is to the right, so I put both drivers on a draw bias to get it just closer to that center line. So this first driver that I'm hitting is the Titleist TSR3. I'm feeling warm, I've gone through my full entire warm-up. I'm feeling good, and I'm excited to start with this Titleist TSR3. If you haven't seen one of my driver bracket videos, the way that this works is I'm using a TrackMan to get all of my data. I'm using a Pro V1 RCT ball. We're filming in Calgary, Alberta, Canada at 3,428 feet elevation. And I'm gonna get 15 hits with both drivers. And the way that we're gonna find the winner is we take the total distance and we subtract the average yards offline. Because not only do I wanna find a far driver, I also wanna find an accurate driver. So if you've played Titleist before or you're familiar with the brand, the drivers don't change much aesthetically. I can think back of my days working golf retail. The Titleist driver that sticks out in my mind that's different was a Titleist D1. It was kind of a triangular driver. That's the only time I can remember Titleist drivers looking different or unique, but they've always held kind of those classic driver characteristics. Oh, that felt good. I remember even just a couple years ago, Titleist introduced a gray crown. I think it was mostly just hybrids, and the community was like, nah, we're good. So they've gone back to that neutral, flat black, which looks really good. The only thing visually that's cool, I think, with the Titleist TSR3 is the face. It's 3D etched, it's not actually milled. That's one of the unique things on the TSR3. It's kind of the first time I've seen the spin really pop up there with the TSR3. So I am still an amateur golfer, but I am considering going pro this year. I wasn't considering going pro until I looked at signing up for the Good Championship. Good is putting on their own championship to offer prize money to up-and-comers, and you have to be a pro. So that was kind of the first time this year that I've actually considered going pro, and I definitely think I have the game that I could transition from amateur to pro. I think that this draw weight setting is really helping my timing. Knock on wood, I haven't had a huge flare to the right like I've had with some of my other drivers in this bracket. And that's why it's no surprise that this TSR3 is in the semis. Even though I'm off to such a hot start hitting this Titleist TSR3, don't count out that Tour Edge Exotic. I actually laughed when you subscribers were asking me to hit the Tour Edge Exotic. I thought it was a cheap brand, and that driver not only beat out the Wilson Dynapower, but it also beat out the Callaway Paradigm. So a little bit later is when I'm gonna compare the head-to-head data to find out which one of these is going on to the finals. 122.7, is that the fastest I've swung in any of these head-to-heads? That's up there. Like the fact that I'm swinging that hard, that fast, and it's holding the line, I love this driver. I really, really, really love the TSR3. Okay, that was a great session with the Titleist TSR3. Remember, at the end is when I'm gonna compare the head-to-head with the Tour's Edge. Now, in order for me to do golf content creation full time, we have to work with some brands and get sponsors for the videos. So that's why this video sponsor is NetCoins.
NetCoins is a regulated North American crypto trading platform. With over 35 coins to choose from and no funding fees, getting started is easy. Join with my referral code NEWNINE and get $25 cash reward when you trade $100 worth of crypto. Sign up today on netcoins.com/US or netcoins.com/CA.
Okay guys, moving on to the Tour Edge Exotic. This has been an absolute dark horse in our driver bracket. I'm still really surprised that it beat the Callaway Paradigm, and I'm really excited to see how this compares to the Titleist. So I told you about all of the similarities in this driver, but let me tell you a couple differences. The Titleist driver is all titanium, where the Tour Edge has a lot of carbon, much like a lot of the other drivers we're looking at this year. On the top line, this is the only driver in 2023 that has this big T. It's an alignment aid, and when I first saw it, I said it looked like there's a thong on this driver. Ever since I've said that, I can't not think of that when I look at this driver. And do I like the alignment aid? Like, I'm kind of impartial. I think it looks okay, But there's actually a huge difference in these heads. One sec. So I'm not sure if the camera can pick this up. The Tour Edge is on the left, the Titleist is on the right. This Titleist is so much more compact than the Tour Edge at address. The Tour Edge, the head just looks so much bigger. So even though there are like a lot of similarities between these drivers, the Tour Edge at address just looks so much different than the Titleist. You know that saying, don't judge a book by its cover? That's exactly how I feel about this Tour's Edge. I wasn't even gonna put it in the bracket until a bunch of subscribers asked for it. I just was a non-believer. I just didn't think it should be included in those big names like Titleist, Ping, Callaway, Mizuno, Strixon. Like, I just didn't even think it'd be close. My results are showing this a lot different than I thought. I'm a big sound guy when it comes to drivers. And I would say if I put these two side by side, I much prefer the sound of the Titleist. So why don't you guys give it a listen? I'll put these side by side right now. Something I've done in some of the other driver bracket videos I think you guys like is when I pick the winner, I'm gonna put this TrackMan to sea level so you can see what type of performance I can get at a 0 elevation sea level drive. You know, big numbers, 312 carry, 343 total. That was a miss hit. My smash factor was 1.4 there. So if that's my miss, if that's what I can expect as a miss, I'm fine with that. But I found when I catch it on the screws, like there's not a lot of drivers that are keeping up with this. So something we haven't talked about is price yet. This Tour Edge C723 comes in at $499 US or $649 Canadian, where the Titleist TSR3 is $599 US or $799 Canadian. So it'll be interesting to see in the data if there is $150 worth of difference between these two drivers. If you told me a year ago I would like a Tour Edge Exotic driver, I would have laughed in your face. If I just put these two drivers side by side, without knowing any of the data, I would gravitate towards the Titleist. I don't love the looks of the Tour Edge. I don't love how it sounds. I don't love the way that it feels, but like I can't ignore these numbers that I'm getting. Some of you might be different than me. Some of you might not care how it looks, how it sounds, how it feels. You would go for the best data. Because these are all so close, I just still think I would pick up the one that I enjoy looking at, the feel and the sound, which is the Titleist. Some of you guys might think that this looks awesome. You might think this looks way cooler than the TSR3. And that's what's cool about being a golfer is that there's no rules or regulations to what clubs you think look cool. It's up to you guys to go to a fitting and put whatever in your bag that you like best. What? I think I might have broke that ball. Oh! So I'm deleting this last one because that Tour Edge broke the ball. I don't remember the last time I broke a Pro V. That ball's broken in half. Speaking of golf balls, I'll let you guys in on what I play. Typically I play a Pro V1, and that's what's so cool about the Pro V1 is that someone that swings pretty fast like I do can play the same ball as someone that swings as slow as my father-in-law. He loves the Pro V1. This year I am playing around with the Chrome Soft LS. I wanted to try out a low spin ball. Callaway has that triple track, kind of the 3 lines on the ball. That's something new I'm trying out. A ball that I'm excited to test is the new PXG ball and the LA golf ball. So the reason why I think I want to stop playing Titleist Pro V1s is because in Canada they're like $75 a dozen. Like, come on. I could go through a dozen balls, no joke, in 4 rounds, 3 rounds if I really was spraying the ball. But yeah, like the price of golf balls is criminal. I've played around with the Vice balls. The Vice Pros are pretty good. You can customize those. Those are cheaper. I've played around with Snell. Snells are decent balls. So I'm kind of a ball free agent this year. So I'm excited to test all these and find out which I like best. Okay, last hit. This could determine who goes in the finals. Eat my dust, bitches. Okay, this is the fun part, finding out which one of these drivers is moving on. Okay, this is my first time taking a look at the head-to-head data. So let me show you guys this head-to-head. So the orange is the Tour Edge. The white is the Titleist. So just looking at the shot tracers, it looks like I had a wider dispersion with the Tour's Edge. Is it Tours or Tour? Tour. Why do I keep saying Tours? Because it just sounds better. Who says Tour Edge? Like say it Tour Edge. Tour Edge, Tour's Edge. Tour's Edge rolls off the tongue. I should rebrand. So looking at both of these range sessions, it looks like I had some dispersion go left and right with the Tour Edge, and it looks like the Titleist might have held that center line a little bit more. I obviously had that big miss left, but I also had that miss with the Tour Edge. So consistent, I would say, between the both of them. These bottom numbers here are my averages of all of the collection of hits. So Tour Edge, I was averaging 120 club head speed, which is fast, 2200 spin, which is ideal, 313 carry, 343 total. Let's compare that to the Titleist. Titleist, almost identical club head speed, 0.2 difference. I was faster with the Titleist. Spin was higher with the Titleist, and I found the Tour Edge to be probably the lowest spinning driver out of everything that we tested, which I think is unique to the Tour Edge. The carry with the Titleist was 315, so 2 yards further, but the total was 3 yards shorter. Look how close these numbers are. I had just slightly better smash factor with the Titleist, 146 versus 145. Those averages are incredibly close. So for a semifinal, I'm excited how close these are. I told you I want a far driver. I also want a tight driver. I want it to be accurate. Let's look at the dispersion of the Tour Edge. I had one on the line. I don't know the last time I had one exactly on the line, so that's really cool. Distance-wise, extremely consistent. I would say that my shortest and longest is 10 yards in difference. Just looking at the two of these, maybe 15 yards. I had one get away from me out of bounds. So 1 out of 15 hits OB, I would take that every single time. Let's compare this to the Titleist. From an accuracy standpoint, I'm gonna say that it's no contest. I don't have any, I hit all 15 drivers in the fairway. I don't think I've done that in one session yet. That is sick. That is disgusting. The only way that I can determine the winner is to take the average total distance subtract by the average yards offline to find a winner, so give us a math break. So before I reveal the totals of both numbers, there was one drive on the Titleist that I missed when talking about the dispersion. Looking here, the majority of these shots are in the middle of the fairway. There was one big miss, and it was this guy over here. Normally my miss is right. I normally don't have big kind of smother pulls, and I had just one. So one of these was way offline, OB, but 14 of 15 hits were very close to the center. So let's start with the Tour Edge. Incredible session. Like the fact that it's made it this far into the semifinals, I'm blown away. This driver is a super sneaky dark horse. I recommend you hit it if you haven't hit it already. Let's start with the total average that I had because it was the longer of the two drivers. I was average total 343.9. Disgusting far driver, like stupid far. I had a relatively decent session dispersion wise. I was averaging 23.57 yards offline. So when I subtract the average yards offline, I'm left with 320 yards, 0.33, which is an amazing number in its own right. Moving on to the Titleist. It was a shorter driver based on the average at 340.7 yards. So in order for the Titleist driver to move on and win, it has to have an average yards offline of less than 20 yards, about. So the Titleist averaged 15.58 yards offline, leaving us with a total of 325.12, which so far has been the best average number out of all the drivers that we've hit. So that means the Titleist TSR3 is moving on to the finals of our 2023 driver bracket. The fact that these drivers were only within 5 yards, less than 5 yards difference, my hat is off to the Tour Edge because I had no idea it was gonna perform as good as it did. Still pretty large. So there's my hit with the TSR3 at sea level, still a 309 carry, 330 total. Super optimal numbers. I'm excited to have this in the finals. If you want to see when I got fit for a Titleist TSR3, check out this video right here. I met with a Titleist fitting professional. They fit me into a Titleist TSR3. You can watch that whole process in this video.